Hello and welcome back to Durbanites FPL. It's time for the Game Week 26 review, Game Week 27 preview with a big double game week for Arsenal and Wolves, but not quite the results that Arsenal were looking for and indeed the managers that favoured them. Let's start off with the table, and as we can see, quite a few movers as well. Coconut Staron coming back into the top of the table, a lot of challenges sitting behind her as well. A big shuffle in the top 5 as well, but it's all very close, within 20 points of catching up with each other. But Roboklopp stands apart, 15 weeks at the top of the table now, doing really well. If you look at the second half of the table, you can see Gunners out for the first time this year, actually this season, out of the top 10. But EFC and Jurassic Jump is trying to get in there, and the champions are all sitting in the bottom half of the table. What is happening, guys? Any chance of them catching up the 200 plus points to reach Roboklopp at the top? No one can say. 12 weeks to go. With that, let's jump in and have a look at the player selections. Still the same 3 players here in our staples. Erling Haaland still leading the line. Gabriel Magalhaes still in with 12 managers supporting him, as do Tavo Chaloba. So those backlines are looking pretty similar. If we look at the differentiators, Cole Palmer is back up there. Wow, look at him being on the other side of the table as well. One owner having him this week and captained him, did really well. Bukayo Saka coming in with 2 managers, one having him on the bench. Unfortunately, Malik Tor with 3, Virgil van Dijk with 4, coming in with a big return as well. Declan Rice with 9 managers out of the 20, as is Antoine Semenyo. These are your differentiators. Let's see how that worked out this week. So look at that. Super strikers for Azra, Hassan, Zai and Ami. Stone walls for Didi and Atta. And iron wall for Fatih, Zai, Ami and really good performances there, guys. But Zai having the hot bench with Bukayo Saka sitting on it as well. 21 points wasted in this particular week. But if we look at what the best possible team would have looked like, Martinez at the back, so Aston Villa's Emi Martinez takes the number 1 jersey, putting Donnarumma on the bench. Virgil van Dijk, big Virg, getting the captain's armband, 34 points for him, doubling up to 17. Malik Tor coming in with 11, Nico Williams with 8, and Mark Gahey with 7, putting Gabriel Magalhaes on the bench because of his cost. And then looking at the midfield, a packed midfield, Element and Day, Declan Rice, Antoine Semenyo, Cole Palmer and Bukayo Saka all giving good returns this week, but super expensive as well. João Pedro takes the only striker spot available, leaving Erling Haaland and Jared Bowen on the bench. Now looking at that team, you would have picked up 140 for that team this week and 164 with the bench boost, but look at that cost. With Cole Palmer, Bukayo Saka, Erling Haaland in there, 110.8, super difficult for anyone to have had this lineup in this particular week. With that, let's look at the matchups for the week coming up ahead. So guys, if you look there just around the middle of this table, Game Week 31, there are blanks for Manchester City, for Crystal Palace, for Wolves and for Arsenal. So just be aware of that. In the next 5 weeks, you're going to have a double blank for these teams. If you're relying on those players a lot, you might have to think about how to reshuffle. In the meantime, let's look at the teams that have some challenges coming up. So starting at the bottom, Spurs are in a relegation battle. They have tough games coming up, starting with the North London derby against Arsenal. Liverpool is squeezed into the next 5 as well, and they've got Fulham and Crystal Palace. Fulham away is not an easy game as well. Spurs need to get something out of these next 5 to make sure that they're safe before they get into the dog days of the season. Next up, Leeds, who've been doing really well, do have tough matches coming up. Aston Villa and Manchester City, both of them in the hunt for Arsenal and that title. So it's not going to be easy for Leeds, and they're going to have to pull out their best performances. Fulham have Sunderland, who have Granit Xhaka possibly coming back. He just needs some match fitness. Then Spurs, and then you see a relegation battle there with Nottingham Forest. They've got a few good ones in between, but then Liverpool, Brentford who are doing really well. Then Arsenal, who are again not going to try and miss any points. So it's quite a tough run in for Fulham going into the end of the season. Then right up at the top as well, you've got Brighton. So Brighton, as you can see, 3 out of the next 5 are super difficult. And then they've got Liverpool as well. So 4 out of 5 games, very, very tough for Brighton. Not sure how they will be able to perform and or impact the season as well. And then right at the top, guys, Arsenal under some pressure. Their form is not looking good over the last 7 games. They've got that North London derby. Then they've got Chelsea coming up as well. 2 tough games back to back with Man City breathing down their neck before they go to a tricky Brighton fixture. Then Everton, who can be dogged at home. And then the blank when everything will be equalized. And that sets them up for 7 weeks into the run-in for the final one, where they will also meet in game week 33, Manchester City. So just be aware of that one. Now, looking at the teams that we're following for the next few weeks, Aston Villa have some good fixtures coming up in the next 5. Definitely winnable for them, especially if they want to stay in the European spots. They've got a bit of space between themselves, Manchester United, Chelsea and Liverpool, but not too much. So just be aware of that. Bournemouth running into a good run of games as well, and they have pretty good form, so we'll look at their players as well. Brentford as well, not too bad to look at the fixtures for their running towards the end of the season. A couple of tricky fixtures along the way, but on their current form as well, they should be doing well. Down towards the bottom, Liverpool, another one that have a pretty good running towards the end of the season as they try and chase down those European spots. They got a tricky fixture coming up against Tottenham there somewhere around the next 5. And then towards the end, another one against Chelsea. And then, of course, there's a derby there, Merseyside derby against Everton. So there are a few tricky fixtures, but all in all, looks like they could do well, especially since the team looks to be gelling as well. And then Manchester City. Now, Manchester City, tricky one against Newcastle this weekend as well. Newcastle themselves suffering with a bit of issues with injuries, and we're going to cover that coming up next. Then another one against Leeds, but the truth be told, they look like they're actually coming into some good form at this moment in time. They've got tricky ones against Chelsea and Arsenal back to back. They're going to have to try and win those if they want to keep the pressure on Arsenal. And let's see how that all pans out. Now, based on all of this, the selections that we're going for, so Sal's is still out for Nottingham Forest, so he's not going to feature. But Emi Martinez has a good run of games, as does Petrovic at Bournemouth, and definitely Robert Sanchez at Chelsea. So here's some options for you if you're looking for a new goalkeeper in the market. Levi Colwill and Marco Correa out for Chelsea. Newcastle having a bit of trouble in their backline. Livramento is out. Shear's out. Botman is now doubtful as well. Guardiola out for Manchester City for sure, as is Frimpong for Liverpool. Pedro Porro is out for Spurs still, and Romero is still serving that 4-match suspension, so he's not available for this North London derby. Dogu's got at least another 4 weeks before he features for Manchester United. Lacroix is doubtful for Crystal Palace, so just be aware of that, as is Matty Cash for Aston Villa. Just some knocks there, so nothing too concerning, I think. Looking at the picks though, Gabriel for Arsenal is still one that can do it, especially on the scoring side, even if he's not having the clean sheets lately. Then you've got Matty Cash from Aston Villa, Mark Gahey for Manchester City, who looks like in the absence of Guardiola will be a lock in that position. Then you've got Virgil van Dijk and Konate, again starting to look solid Liverpool, so maybe they've shaken off the early season jitters from them, but they seem to be doing well. Virgil's the expensive option, Konate is better on your budget. Chalobah for Chelsea, he still provides a goal threat as well, and Chelsea do have an ability to keep a clean sheet. Then you're looking at Senesi and Hill for Bournemouth based on the fixtures they have coming up. Marcus Senesi is highly owned as well, and definitely a good defender who can also add in on the goal side. And Hill is the cheap option out of Bournemouth, so if you're on a budget, I think he is currently sub 4 or just around 4 million, so a good option if you are tight on budget. And then looking at Nathan Collins based on the Brentford games coming up, that's an option that we are putting out there. When we move into midfield, Spurs still struggling again with a lot of midfielders out, especially on the creative side. So Kudus is out, Kulusevski is out, Maddison is out, Merino is out for Arsenal, and Saka is doubtful, even though he did get minutes in the last game against Wolves and did score. Doku's out for Manchester City. Tavernier should be back for Bournemouth, but just watch on his minutes. Grealish is out possibly for the season with Everton. Miley and Gimaresh are out at Newcastle. Xhaka is on his way back for Sunderland, and McGinn and Tielemans remain out at Aston Villa. But when we look at the picks, Aston Villa, we still have Morgan Rogers and Douglas Luiz looking really good together in that double pivot in Aston Villa's midfield. Semenyo's definitely keeping up his form at Manchester City, and he's their premier attacking midfielder currently. Tavernier from Bournemouth, again, might be a risk on minutes, but definitely one of the more creative players. And since Semenyo has moved on, has become the focal, he's taken the set pieces, so definitely a route to points for him. Declan Rice at Arsenal is probably the pick of the midfielders out of Arsenal because of heavy rotation as well. Florian Wirtz at Liverpool is one starting to come back. You can look at Dominic Soboslai. He's done with his suspension, but I don't think he has the kind of attacking output that Florian Wirtz looks at. Then you've got Cole Palmer at Chelsea, really starting to put in some big numbers as well for the season. Let's hope he can keep it up. And then you've got Enzo Fernandez as well as a cheaper option if you can't make the money for Palmer. For Manchester United, this trio still remains based on the form that they have currently. Brian Mbeumo, Matheus Cunha and Bruno Fernandes. So you have the option of going for the premier option of Bruno Fernandes, but if you don't have the money, Brian Mbeumo's in space, and of course Matheus Cunha I think is the cheapest of the trio. All of them have good routes to goal currently and are in good form, and Manchester United do seem to be in good form at this moment in time, even though the fixtures are kind of 50-50. And from Crystal Palace, again, with all the movement that has happened, including the movement of Eberechi Eze in the January window, Ismail Assar is now the creative output and has been scoring the goals. He's also on pens, so look at him maybe to pick up a few points along the way. And then finally looking at the forward line, a few of the forwards are looking to come back pretty soon. Richarlison might even be back by the next game week. Nketiah and Mateta are still out for Crystal Palace, but Jorgen Strand Larsen is there now, so no worries. Alexander Isak still recovering from his surgery, so he's not close to being back, and neither is Chris Wood. Kai Havertz could be back for Arsenal even this weekend, so he's a bit doubtful because of match fitness, but he should be back. And Johan Wissa, unfortunately, is highly doubtful for Newcastle, so look at Nick Waltemada and Anthony Gordon probably playing as the two up front. In terms of picks, Erling Haaland hasn't really been on form firing, but with Manchester City going for the chase on Arsenal, he's definitely the man to lead the line. There was a bit of concern because he had picked up a knock somewhere in the week, but he seems to be 100% fine and he's cleared and ready to go. Igor Thiago has got some good fixtures coming up for Brentford. Don't forget he is on penalties. He does take a few set pieces as well. Known to hit in hat-tricks back-to-back, so definitely wouldn't encourage you to be without him. João Pedro has had a good run for the Chelsea front line, especially in this run of great fixtures. The last one, and probably the chance for him to really score well against Burnley this week. And after that, it gets a bit tougher for Chelsea as well. As you saw, they're taking on Manchester City and Arsenal in the run-in towards the end of the season. Dominic Solanke for Spurs, look at him to try and make things uncomfortable for Arsenal this week. Krupi Jr. and Bournemouth, even a better pick than Evan Nilsson, even though he is a bit risky on minutes, but when he gets on the field, he's pretty good, and Bournemouth do have some good games that you can bank on. Ollie Watkins backs for Aston Villa based on the figures there. Tammy Abrams, if you have him, is a hold, but I think Ollie Watkins will definitely start the games and get the bulk of the minutes. Jorgen Strand Larsen is the only fit striker at Crystal Palace at this moment in time. He has scored already, so you're free to keep him on the team, even though the fixtures are a fight for Crystal Palace going forward. And then the last call out is Ugo Ekitike, the in-form striker for Liverpool this season as well. Liverpool are going into a good run of fixtures. They do need the points if they want to step into the European spots, or the Champions League spots, if I should say. They're still in the European spot currently, but not Champions League. And they'll want to push Manchester United and Chelsea and even try and get into that top three should Aston Villa decide to slip out. So it's a very big week, guys. Everybody's playing this week. Start making your plans for Game Week 31 and the blank. Start looking at how you're going to start moving these players around, especially those that might be costly and are not really performing. But that's all we have for now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, drop us a comment, and let us know who you're supporting in the North London Derby. Until next week, that's all for now.